Here we go again. I think just we'll start out by we had 8 great weeks of winter conditioning. I thought Luke Day, our new strength coach, did a tremendous job with our guys. I thought our guys worked extremely hard like they always do for that 8-week period. Now we're starting the next phase, of course, which is the actual football part of it. So I think it's exciting, as the head coach to be able to go out and watch these kids that have developed physically. We got some new bodies in there, 4 or 5 guys that we haven't seen out there that we'll get the opportunity to see for the first time. So it's exciting, and there's no question that we got it to get where we want to go. Expectations are extremely high there. They should be. We expect to be great. We've got good players. We've got to continue to do a great job of developing them, and it always starts with playing great defense. We've done that the last 3 years, and we lost some really good defensive players, so it's important that our ends are back intact. Our inside guys, we've got some good young inside guys we have to see develop. Losing McKelvey, the defensive player of the year, and DJ Hunter was a tremendous player for us, so we got to get to work to develop some depth there at linebacker. And then we lost a tremendous safety in Taj Letman and a great corner in Corey Tyndall. So those are probably the key positions defensively that we have to develop to get back to where we want to be. And of course, that's playing great defense. Offensively, it starts at the quarterback position. Of course, Chase is back. I thought for a freshman, had a great year. He'll be competing with Birdsong, of course, for that job. The offensive line with getting Van Horn back is really back intact, so it should be one of the strengths of our offense. And then the running backs with Devin didn't play much a year ago, so the 3 guys we did play are back, and I like the way they developed a year ago. They have to continue to get better. And then the wide receiver position, DeAndre Reeves may have had as good a senior year as anybody I've ever stepped up, was the MVP of the team, voted for by his teammates, and maybe played. We talk about seniors playing their best football. There's no question he did. So to be able to replace that production, not only at the slot position, but he's just a tremendous punt returner, kick returner, and helped with special teams as well. So got to develop that receiver position. Then on special teams, there's kind of a couple. Tyler Williams, and you guys have been around a lot longer than I have. Some of maybe the best punter to ever punted here. I know we've had some tremendous punters here, but he's got ranked right up there with the best of them. Got to work to replace him. Then the guy that's kind of you never hear about is the long snapper. I mean, he was 4 straight years, never had a bad snap, on a punt or an extra point field goal. So until you don't have one of those, you don't notice them. So hopefully we can get him replaced, and then of course the kickers are back intact. So got a lot of work to do. I think the one thing you try to do in the spring is you challenge certain players to play to their measurables. We did that a year ago with Gary Thompson. He ended up leading the league in sacks, and every year you have certain players that you want to try to get to play up to what their measurables are or their potential, and that's what spring's all about. That's what coaching's all about. That's what developing players are all about. And if you continue to do that, and again get your seniors that are seniors this particular year coming up playing their best football, we got a chance. So I'm excited about it. We'll get going. We'll go Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays like we always do, and get ready to go play. So we're here again.
Can you remember a year since you've been here in which there has been this much, pretty much open competition going at the skill positions, especially the running backs, the wide receivers, corners, going into a spring? It seems like there's always been veteran guys there.
I think, Grant, I think you're right to an extent. I think, early on there wasn't any competition because there wasn't any players. Maybe you had one, so I guess to answer your question early on, there wasn't a whole lot of competition at certain positions. But, I thought, Halleck Foster, I thought came in and played well. I think Keon Davis, came in and showed in that bowl game he's got the ability to play. And then Pittman, when healthy, I like what he's all about. So I think it starts there. We got a couple kids coming in that, I think will compete along with those guys. But I think there's a good base there to start with. The offensive line has probably more depth than any time since I've been here. Getting Van Horn back and all those young kids have played. So, there's a lot of depth there. But, could be. Could be.
With Holliday, you are going to keep him at running back. He's not going to move back to slot trying to replace Reeves, or is that something that's still in flux for him?
I think it's. We're going. I think one thing we try to do it every year is get your best players on the field. And I think as the spring goes along, if I think Halleck's got the ability to be a tremendous running back, probably a better running back than he is a receiver at this point. So, if Keon Davis would really come along and Pitt and a couple of those guys, and we got more than a couple players there at that running back position, and we'll look to try to get somebody else, get them somewhere else and get them on the field. So.
Back earlier, you said that Chase is coming back with competing with Birdsong for the starting spot, is that more motivation for Chase, or is that honestly up in the air still?
Well, I think that's at every position. I mean, the best players are going to play. Birdsong had an unfortunate incident a year ago where, after he got hurt in that Purdue game and, just never recovered enough to play. And Chase took advantage of the opportunity, did a tremendous job. So, we're going to let him compete just like we do at every position. And at the end of the day, the best player is going to play. I would hope nobody needs motivation to go out and play every day. I mean, if you're a competitor and you're a good player, I mean, you're going to show up every day and go to work and work to get better. That's what great players do. So, I would think that that's the mindset of both those kids.
I think spring's more about competition between the kids than it is getting ready for something. I mean, the long-term goal is getting ready for the fall, but I think kids have to compete in the spring. That's the only time you can really get into.
There's no question. Spring ball is a time where I think you really work hard on developing players. We work really hard as far as coaching fundamentals and technique and tackling and all the things you do. And, you look up and, you don't have a whole lot of opportunities. You got really 12. You got 11 opportunities to really go out and practice, and you got the spring game, which, is what it is. And so you're only putting the pads on 12 times. 3 of those are in shorts. So, you got to take advantage of every opportunity you have to get better as a player because, unfortunately, there's not a lot of opportunities anymore in the spring. So, football is one game which is different than a lot of sports where you actually go out. You can't go out and play every day. You get so many opportunities. You better take advantage of those opportunities when you get a chance to put the pads on.
Talk a little about the brand new faces that will be on the field for the first times, Revis and the freshmen.
Yeah, like a lot of good things. You see a lot of really good things from those kids. In the off season, I think some of those kids have came in and Revis and Maddox and a couple of those guys have come in and done a really good job in the off season workouts. So you see how that transitions over onto the field. But I'm excited to see those guys.
How about your linebacker spot? You lost some guys, some obvious talent, but you got some real talent coming in that maybe we haven't even seen.
Yeah, I think, and the one thing too, is somebody always. It's kind of amazing how when somebody else is finally your turn, you step up and you get it done. For example, McKelvey really was our best linebacker 2 years ago. He went out and all of a sudden Neville Hewitt stepped in there and took over and was Player of the Year in the conference. And then, of course, McKelvey came back this year and was Player of the Year. So there's some good young talent in that room. I thought Tyler, came in for a junior college kid and really played well for us a year ago. We kind of weren't expecting that to happen, and we got some good young players there now. With Chase Hancock has showed that he can be a player. Hernandez has shown he's got some ability. So Durant's a guy that we got to see. So there's some bodies in there that we think are good enough, but potential will get you beat. Production wins games, and these guys have to just be able to show up and go play, and I think they will.
For a guy like Frankie Hernandez, he was hungry to get on the field last year, and he wasn't bashful about that. He loved playing the game and getting out there and competing with even the seniors. How important is it for him to sort of make that transition into, okay, I want to, but now it's my chance and I need to?
Yeah, I think now it's his turn and he has to, And I think the thing was great about the development of Frankie Hernandez, for example. He's developed himself starting out on special teams, which is what we try to do. If you remember early on in that Purdue game, he kind of set the stage for his freshman year. What happened on that kickoff return? He just did a tremendous job. He did a good job running down on kickoffs. He gained confidence. He gained trust from the coaches that he can actually go play, and he's only going to get better and better. And I think the one thing that's happened in the last 3 years is we've had great leadership and to teach these young kids how to play. Fortunately for Frankie Hernandez, he's had Neville Hewitt as his redshirt year. He's had McKelvey and he's had Trey for his freshman year. So he's had older players sitting in that room that have told him what it takes to be great and how you got to go out and practice every day and do those things. The defensive line, for example, has had Rouse. They lost Rouse and they had Samuel took over and Dylan. And so there's, right now in that room right now, you got Tyler in there with Frankie, who's now that guy. So there's some older guys in that room, in every room, that have, set the foundation, the culture for the program. And these young kids, they grow up seeing that you have to do things a certain way, the right way. And Reeves is an example. Reeves is an example where we're going to use every day with these wideouts. B. Reeves this year. He came out of nowhere and and played up to his measurables. I mean, go be that guy, you know. And so it's happened around here the last 3 or 4 years, and that's what good programs do. But they got great leadership in those rooms, and we seem to have one in every room that grabs these young kids and tells them the way it has to be done.
At the time of the ball game, we didn't know Corey Tyndall was going to be gone from the program. How important in hindsight was that bowl game for Rodney Allen's confidence? Because he played very well.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, you know, Rodney Allen's a talented guy, but he's been playing corner for 2 years, and he's finally starting to, you know, feel comfortable there. Chuck's done a great job of coaching him, and he's got to be the guy now. You know, I think because with losing Corey and backs, you know, our defense is built from the outside in. And if you look at our defense, the way we play, we've got to be able to match up at the corner position to be able to get the extra hat in the box and do what we do defensively. And for the last 3 years with Swag and Corey and some of those guys, we've been able to do that. So it's going to be critical this spring with what we have on campus and what we've got coming in. You know, we recruited heavily at that corner position. 2 of them are already here. That you know, we can develop that position and get the play out of those guys that we need. And I think we can because the talent's there, and Coach Heater will do a tremendous job of getting those guys coached. But to answer your question, you know, confidence is a big part, especially at the corner position. You know, you play with a lot of confidence, and Rodney will come out this spring probably a totally different guy.
Doc, in the fall, you know, you had the good news, bad news. Bad news was you had guys injured. You had the good news, had a lot of kids step up. You're probably going to be missing some of those same offensive linemen, though, this spring, Van Horn, Deaver, Jordan. I don't know how many, or I talked to Bill about it a little bit, and, you know, he said, well, we'll continue the growth that those guys got in the fall. What do you want to see those younger guys nail down in the spring if they get a lot of work?
Well, just continue to develop. I mean, and they'll have no choice under Coach Mirabal, as you know. They'll develop because they've a lot of those guys. You know, the Dowries is going to miss a little bit of spring, and Devers with just some minor, but they'll be back. They'll get some individual work. Van Horn's going to get a lot of work. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, he's been here longer than I have, so he probably didn't need to get a lot of work, but he's going to get some. I mean, he's physically he can get some. He can do some things. So, you know, the rest of them will just, you know, Sandley, I thought take a big step a year ago. I mean, he's a really good player that is going to continue to see him continue to develop like he has. The Benots of the world who came in and played an awful lot of football a year ago. Selby, you know, we got, there's plenty of young guys in there. I'm sure, you know, out at the Locklear, we got a lot of great things. He needs a lot of work. You know, those young guys that haven't played as much as the Van Horns. Even Dowry's a young guy, but he played a bunch of snaps a year ago, you know, and played well. So we'll just continue to work those young guys, and then when those older guys get back, as you mentioned, that extra work will pay off.
Going into a year where you lost Devin and Remy, who had been around the running backs room for quite some time at that point, and logged a lot of snaps. How much easier does it make it on those young guys that you know, that offensive line's 8 or 9 deep, and so they sort of help that position along by doing their job? No,
there's no question. I mean, anytime it starts up front offensively, and you know, anytime those guys play well, it's a lot easier, and those running backs look a lot better. And you know, I remember, you know, this time, I mean, as you mentioned, Devin and Remy were our running backs. And I look out there at FAU. I don't know exactly what game that was a year ago, but I'm holding my breath. We're playing with a wideout, never played running back for us, and played with Keon Davis, who I was scared to death and never held the ball. And those guys went in and played well. You know, and number one, says a little bit about it. And then Pittman. We go to Kent State, and we're playing Pittman, who I didn't think would see the field, and I mean, he played his tail off, you know, and then lines up against Old Dominion out here and has 100. I think he had 300-yard games, you know. So all those experiences that those 3 kids experience of playing, and Keon going into that bowl game that last fourth quarter and just taking it over. I mean, those guys are going to come out there this spring with a lot more confidence, and I think it starts with having the ability to be a player, and they all 3 have that. You know, you recruit them all 3 again, and they have. And now it's unfortunate we didn't have Devin for the entire year and Remy for the entire year. But you know, looking back now, I mean, we're a lot better off going into spring now because of it. Now you wish it hadn't worked out that way, but it did, and so we're further ahead with those guys.
Does Pittman sort of have that S-Ray Talafaro feel to him? He's sort of a guy that's under the radar in practice, and then he just comes out in games, and it seems like he was lights out last year. He's
a guy that you know, if you want to crawl in a hole with, you'd want him in your hole. I mean, if somebody's going to come after you in that hole, I'd want him in there with me because he'll fight you. He's extremely tough, and when the lights come on, he plays, and that's what it's all about.
stock, you got 3 athletic tight ends, Harris, Bird, Yurachek. You're gonna be able to do some stuff with them where maybe they're split out, using a little wide, maybe like Marshall did with Cody Slade a few years back.
Yeah.
Because they are able to go catch a ball and run a little bit against secondaries.
It goes back to, I think, the question I had earlier about getting your best players on the field. And 2 of our best players are Bird and Yurachek. So there's probably going to see a lot more of them on the field at the same time, you know. And they can both. Thing that's neat about those 2 guys is they can flex out. And Yurachek, he's not going to run by you, but he's a little bit like Tommy Schuler. You know, he plays fast, and you get him, and he can play in space. And so you're probably going to see you are going to see Yurachek and Bird on the field at the same time. And we talked this morning about seeing if Caleb Harris can catch kickoffs, because there's probably not a kid on our team faster than he is. So we're going to take a hard look. He won a hurdle championship in the state of Ohio, and he can run now. So he's a big body that we're going to try to find ways to get him on the field too.
Is there anybody, going back to measurables, anybody like Gary Thompson you've come to in the past few days and said, you're this, this, and this?
Well, I mean, McManus would be a guy, yeah. I mean, McManus would be a guy that needs to play his measurables. You know, I think, you know, and we're going to chat me all of them. I mean, I shouldn't say all of them. A lot of them already are doing that. But, you know, we've had several of them we've talked, you know, to about getting that done, and they have. And they'll all be challenged. The ones that aren't will be told they're not.
With the loss of your seniors, you know, you'll have a new chemistry that has to develop for the team, and does spring practice take that kind of to another level beyond just the workouts so far?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it takes, you know, we did some things, you know, during the winter with, you know, the leadership part of it and putting those kids in. And you know, I'll be honest, I don't know if I think I've said it in here before, but probably maybe the 2 of the best leaders I ever have been around in all my years of coaching were freshmen. One was Tim Tebow, and the other was Philip Rivers. You know, they were true freshmen. So I don't think you have to be you don't have to be a senior to lead. You just got to be a good player you got to be a really good player that's got the leadership capabilities. And you know, there's been a lot of kids around here that have been, you know, the way we do the captains. I mean, when we run them out there, they're not always all seniors. You know, there's the Selby's have been captains, and Tyndall's is freshmen, and you know, so I think just there's a lot of kids on this football team that need to assume that leadership role that aren't seniors, but the seniors need to play their best football and be a part of that. And for the last 3 years, that's happened. You go back and look at our seniors, you know, from the Talaferros who had 1,000 yards. I mentioned Talaferro had a 1,000-yard rushing season, to Bazzi, who's still playing in the CFL, to Reeves this year, to Jarquez Samuel, to Rouse, to, you know, Swag, to Taj Letman, Arnold Blackman. They all played, you know, their senior year, played their best football. And that's what good teams do. And we've got a group of seniors right now. And the great thing is for the last 3 years, and now this being the 4th, I mean, we got a pretty good senior class. You know, we're not, senior day doesn't take 2 minutes. You know, the first couple of years, I was out there, I shook 3 hands and walked the sidelines. I mean, that's what got our ass kicked, you know. But now, at least, you know, you got 18, 19 guys run out there, you got a chance. That's what good teams have. You know, you've got seniors that have been in the program a while, and that's why we are where we are.
You know, like, since you stabilized your staff too 3 or 4 years ago there, these guys have stuck with you. I mean, you've had very little turnover, and I think from a coaching standpoint, that's good because they understand what you want. They understand the players. For players, it's got to be great. I mean, they've got a lot of respect for these guys because they're winning. And so, you know, they know who's going to come in the room, be in the room, what they expect, and what's expected of them.
Yeah, I think what the thing about it is I think 4 years ago, and I hired Chuck and Billy, but I think we hired like 8 guys that year. I think we had like 8, but turnover's good at times. I mean, you want people coming. You know, I didn't want to lose Scott, but you know, he went to University of Georgia. That's because he's damn good. He's good at what he does, and you hire good people. And Luke's as good as I've ever been around. You know, we just replaced him with a guy that's really, really good. And but I think what starts with Chuck and Billy. You know, I've had those guys, and they're at the age right now where winning championships is more important than money. You know, they're happy here and they want to be here. They've had opportunities, both of them, to leave. You know, for more money and haven't. And so when you get to that point with those 2 guys, and then you know, Mike Hamrick and our administration done all we can to try to keep our staff competitive especially within our league. you know, then, you know, we've been able to keep some guys. So, you know, you never want to lose anybody, but, you know, I've never been one that if you lose a guy that's it's a major deal, could just go out and get another one. And go out and find one as good or better, and that's a compliment to your program. So that's been, but you're right.
Facilities impact those guys too, don't it? You know, when you're giving them a chance to win.
Well, there's no doubt, and that's what has given us a chance. You know, that indoor facility has been invaluable for, you know, we've been able to, you know, all winter long, we're in there every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with our skill development, our mats, and our quarterbacks and receivers are able to go in there a couple of days a week and throw and catch. And, you know, just up until 2 years ago, they never did that here. Never did it here at Marshall. Couldn't. I mean, you go out there in January and you've got a foot of snow on the ground. So, just the development of the players, what that's done, and then of course the recruiting. You know, we have recruits in here. Every weekend. You know, we're going to have the best players coming in here, and you know, when they walk in here, they can go. It takes them about 2 minutes to understand the commitment that Marshall University and this fan base has to our program by walking in that building over there. Because we've had guys. I think somebody else, Jack, or somebody did the story here with Stump Mitchell. They were shocked. He was shocked when he walked in there, and Cincinnati Bengals and Philadelphia Eagles don't have that. You know, the pro teams don't have it, and 99.9% of the college teams don't have what we have over there. So there's no doubt that every piece, and you know what, you know, a lot of people, you want to go to work where you're happy. You know, to wake up every day and go do this or anything, and you're miserable. That's pain. You don't want to do that. And our guys are happy here. They like living here. They, you know, like our administration, and I know I'm a pain in the ass sometimes to work for, but other than that, I guess they like it.
At the kickers and snappers, you had two backup snappers last year and kind of alternated which one to take on the road. I guess they're both here this year?
No, one's here, one isn't. All right,
One
Wood's
isn't.
here. The other one gone, I don't know. When they're gone, I don't know their names. But the other one's gone. No name.
Who punts for you, Vedvik or?
Vedwick. You know, but Vedwick's an interesting character. I mean, I tell you, so you guys that came to practice, I mean, he's about as talented, and I'm not going to sit here and say he's Tyler Williams, but he's as talented punter as I've ever been around, if he can be considered, which I think he can. And tremendous athlete. I mean, just a tremendous athlete. So he'll start out as our punter, and I think he's going to be fine.
How important is it for him to gain the consistency? Because we'd be out here, you know, watching while they're going through their reps, he and Tyler both, and he'd hit one that went 65, and then he'd hit one that went 30. You know, how important is the spring for him to gain some continuity and some confidence?
Well, he's got to become more consistent. And you know what? I thought a year ago he was. You know, when he was our backup, I thought in practice he was a lot more consistent than he has been, and I think he'll be fine. Number one, football's important to him. He's an extremely talented kid. He works really hard at what he does, and he's a lot more consistent, I thought, right now than what Tyler was when he got here. You know, early on, that's of course a lot of years ago, but I think Vedwick will be fine. He needs to be.
Open competition at kicker as well with
Yeah.
Amaretto and
Mhm.
Smith.
Yeah.
Coach, how often do you talk to former players? What do they say about how being a part of Marshall prepared them for whether they're still playing football professionally or just in the workforce?
Well, I think anytime you get one of our former players, whether it's in the workforce, especially in the workforce, they know how to work. You know, that's the one thing we try to do is get up every day and go to work. I mean, there aren't a lot of secrets. I mean, we would try to work extremely hard at what we do, and let's don't get outworked in anything we do. Let's don't get outworked in the weight room. Let's don't get outworked in the offices. Let's just don't get outworked recruiting. And those players, you know, the discipline they develop by, you know, they're here on time. I mean, kids today, they don't know when to show up, and they don't know how important it is to show up on time and put in the hours every day. And I mean, normal kids, they don't learn that growing up anymore, unfortunately. And our kids understand discipline. They understand teamwork. They understand overcoming adversity. They understand if it's 9 o'clock, it's 5 minutes till. They work. You know, that's what you learn in this grade. That's one thing about athletics. You know, in today's world, you get rewarded. You get rewarded for hard work in athletics. You know, and sometimes in the real world out there, you don't get rewarded anymore for working your tail off. You get penalized. I mean, but in athletics, you don't. You work your tail off. Guess what? You can go win a championship. You know, and you know, you out there and you make a lot of money, and you get rewarded by paying higher taxes. I mean, what the hell's that on? But that being said, you know, our kids understand. you know, they understand what commitment means, they understand overcoming adversity, they understand discipline, and I think that carries over, whether it's in the workforce or in our NFL guys, they know how to work. I mean, they get to those camps and you talk to those coaches and talk to those kids. They're not having to do anything there they didn't have to do out here, and that's a good thing.
The one assistant, on the field assistant you had to replace at running back, was there did anyone have any connection with Coach Pearson before, or?
Yeah. Todd Goebel had worked with him before for 4 years, so we knew him. We knew who he was, knew what it was all about, knew he could recruit, knew he was a good coach, knew his background, and he's done a great job.
Antavius Rowe won't be here in the spring, I guess, but who else will be?
He'll be here a little bit. He'll be here some. He was out to run around a little bit yesterday. I don't know what he had. He had a slight deal with his surgery, a small surgery deal, but he could possibly be out there some of the spring. Him, 2 linemen, I mentioned Devers and Dowry, they'll be limited. I think everybody else is pretty good to go.
You mentioned Clint will get some reps. How do you balance the fine line of, okay, we want him to work with the ones at the offensive line towards, okay, we know what he can do, let's shut him down for a little bit?
Well, I think the thing, Clint didn't play a lot of football last year either. So, I mean, he's starting all over. I mean, he's going to have to play some because he missed, there's a reason he got his 6th year back because he missed all last year. So he's Alex will do a good job with that. But Clint's, and you all know Clint, I mean, he's going to want to practice. But we'll be smart with him. I mean, like I say, it's 12 practices and end of the day, Clint needs to get into the summer. So he's got a whole summer to continue to develop and get stronger. And the important thing is he's ready to go in May or in August.
How big is he from a vocal leadership standpoint? Because that's another position that is always important. Spring.
Well, there's no doubt. He's a tremendous leader and has been since he's been here. And you take him and Selby, and that's a great start up front there because both those guys do a great job at that.
How much do you emphasize conference champions to give them motivation?
Well,
Obviously,
there's no doubt. I mean,
Does it start in spring?
ultimately that's our goal. I mean, that's our goal every year. That'll never change. I mean, some people said you had a great year last year. I said, no, we didn't have a great year last year. Last year was a good year because you didn't win a championship. I mean, the term great should be reserved for the years you win the conference championship. That's what it's all about. And last year you win 10, it's a good. But it's not great unless you win that championship. And so that will always be the goal here. And it should be. And we're going to work our tail off to try to make that come true.
Any qualms about going ahead of spring or next season? Any qualms about having to play all the way through with no bye week?
Well, I mean, you know what? I bitch about it, moan about it, but then once it's done, what am I going to do? I mean, it ain't going to change. So it's like anything else. You walk out of that office and you may not be happy with it, but at that point, what are you going to do? You just move on. I mean, so, it's not perfect, but it is what it is at this point. And guess what? We just got to make sure we take every week one at a time and go play. And it wasn't a whole lot different last year, to be honest, because you won 11 straight weeks last year. So it is what it is. And, like I say, it's not set up perfectly, but, the positive, we have 7 home games. I mean, that's a positive. I mean, our schedule is tremendous, and I hope that there shouldn't be a whole hell of a lot of complaints about our schedule this year. I know Akron was a bowl team last year, won 8. We got them coming. Louisville's just whipped. They did a tremendous job against A&M in that bowl game. They'll probably be a top 10 or 15 team coming in here. And, of course, Pitt won 8 and went to a bowl. So, out of conference, and the teams in a conference, I mean, are good teams. So we've got 7 home games. That's a positive, and we'll go play them one at a time and see what happens.
Knowing what you've got ahead, to piggyback off Chuck's question, knowing what you got ahead, how important is it for those young guys to get the reps necessary starting tomorrow to run them through the fall and get them ready for fall? Because you're likely going to have to use more guys. There's not going to be a break.
Yeah, well, it was that way a year ago, as you mentioned. It was sure that way a year ago. And some of those young guys that played early, didn't get a ton of reps. One of them didn't get any reps last spring, Keon. So, we'll get our young guys ready to play, and then there's a lot of time between. You got a lot of practices, in fall camp prior to that first game. So, we'll just get as many players as we can get ready and line up and go play.
The league is trying to improved on the back end, maybe, he sent 5 teams to bowls and had a pretty good year there, but the league's still got some work to do, I guess, nationally. Some people thought the league was down last year, a lot of people.
I think, a year ago, I mean, I think at the end of the day, this league's a lot better than what people give it credit for. I mean, I hear all this about the American Conference and all this, but you look at the bowl records, and I think we went there and beat 2 of those teams, and we beat the one to beat Houston. So, the year prior to that, we were ranked higher than the American as a league. And, if you just look at our bowl record for the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, I think we've held our own with just about everybody. But at the end of the, I think we're set up, and everybody's set. We just got to do what we can do. I mean, with our schedule the way it's set up right now, we just got to go find a way to win some games. And same thing with Western and Southern Miss is back. They've done a nice job, and La Tech, just went and destroyed that team with the Sun Belt team. I think was the Sun Belt champions. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure the league got as much credit as it was due, and I think we can hang with any of the leagues that are out there.
If you were going to pick, off the wall, if you were going to pick one player that you would think, who would you say is going to surprise us this spring that we're not thinking of is going to really surprise us?
Gosh, I don't know. To be honest, Chuck, a lot of the kids have played. I mean, a lot of the kids have played. Hopefully, I'm hoping, to be honest, if I had to pick one, it's one of these corners coming in here or one of these DBs that are new where we need help. I hope it's one of those guys. But just to pick one, I don't know. I mean, maybe, hopefully Durant comes in and plays to his measurables. Hopefully Revis is what we think he is. Hopefully, those other guys, Maddox, and those guys can play. And somebody will. Right now, I don't know who it is, but you guys all ought to put your names in the hat at the end of the spring. So you had the right pick. That'd give you something to do while you're up here. First practice, right, Woody? Just everybody put their pick. At the end of the day, see who's right.
Anything else?
All right, guys, thanks.